Namo Narayanaaya. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of the life of Swami Ramakrishna Ji Maharaj, who was the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. His pre-monastic name was Shashi Bhushana Chakravarti. Swami Ramakrishna Ji Maharaj is telling selfishness is sin. Unselfishness is the first milestone on the path of spirituality. Now, we should all know that the yardstick for the measuring of our progress in spiritual life is we have to watch ourselves. The more unselfish I have become, the more I feel for others, the more I sorry for that, the more I work and serve for others, the more my heart has expanded. That is the yardstick that you are moving forward in spiritual life. That is unselfishness. Others first, myself last. Even in the universal prayer of the Gayatri mantra or Savitri mantra, the last sentence is Dhiyo yo naha prachodayat. May the Lord inspire the intellect, the Dhi, for all of us. There the prayer is not me alone. May the Lord inspire the intellect for all of us. Everybody. Sarvastaratu Durgani. All the people may be rid of the problems, all the problems. So that prayer, you see, the universal prayer, which is the most powerful prayer, is again unselfish. Praying for others. No selfishness. So Swami Vivekananda used to tell, unselfishness is God. Selfish, mammon. Unselfishness is God. Now we can see that another place Swami Vivekananda tells what is religion. Religion is the process by which a brute or an animal like man with all the instinct and impulse is raised unto man, a selfish. You know the animal rule of the animal kingdom by Charles Darwin, survival of the fittest. So it is only the selfish will survive in the animal kingdom. So there is a process by which a man is raised, a brute or a brutish man or an animal tendency man with the samskara of the animal, mrugiya sadrusha, to the level of the human being, where the human being has the power to think, intelligent, dhi shakti. The power of discrimination is there. So by which you can understand what is right and what is wrong, where that is not there in the animals. So the intellectual power makes him a human being. So to raise from the brutal level to the human level, and from the human level to the divine. So here in the spiritual kingdom, the process becomes reverse. In the animal kingdom, it is only the selfish survives. But in the humanity, human kingdom, and divine kingdom, the whole rules change. Here, unselfish only will survive. So the whole thing reverses here. So the process by which a brute is raised unto man and man unto God, that is religion. So we have been doing all these sadhanas, all the other things to raise ourselves to that divinity. So what is God? God is unselfishness. So to become unselfish, to become one with God, is the goal of spiritual life. So watch yourself. If you are becoming selfish, if you are only interested about your own interest and your family only, then you are moving away from spirituality or God. So we have to understand the basics of spiritual life. Why do we call mother as God, the manifestation, highest manifestation of God, mother and father? Because of unselfishness. They manifest that unselfishness, especially the mother, to her family. But a guru, he practices unselfishness and serves everybody, gives all that he has got by spiritual practice to everyone, irrespective of his family, his caste, creed, color, country, whatever. That's why Guru, because of his still higher unselfishness, is considered to be God. Finally, what is God? God is unselfishness. So, do you want to become God? Do you want to be one with God? That is the goal of spiritual life. Then, what is the path? Unselfishness. Whichever religion you take up, whichever path you take up towards God, that is what it is shown. So, selfishness is sin. Unselfishness is the first milestone on the path of spirituality. A selfish person may perhaps enjoy comfort and health, but a saint, a sannyasin, a monk can never afford to be selfish. Ramakrishna Ananda said, so long as we are selfish, our work must be fruitless. We may deliver fine lectures, we may gain name and fame, but the actual result will be nil. The moment, however, that our little self disappears, the little ego disappears, at that moment our real work begins. At another place in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna tells ego, our ego is Maya. Ego is Maya. We are wondering what is Maya. So Ramakrishna is telling ego is Maya. So that is the what is obstructing us from realizing our true nature or realizing God? Maya. So now Ramakrishna gives an example in the gospel. There was a devotee sitting nearby. He holds the towel in front of him, unspreads the towel and holds it in front of him. And now he asks the other devotee, can you see me? No, sir. Why? The towel is obstructing you. How is that? I'm so near to you. Yes, sir. The towel spread is obstructing you, so I can't see you. Then Ramakrishna tells, similarly, God is the nearest to us. He is the indweller. Why can't you see him then? Ego covering. The ego doesn't allow us. And what is ego? Selfishness. What is non-ego? How to remove ego? Unselfishness, selflessness. So simply, should we work at the mental level? No. At the practical level too. You should start working, helping others constantly with all your energy, with all your wealth, helping the poor, helping everybody, whether poor or rich or anybody, seeing God in all of them. That is unselfishness. That is the way, only way to remove your ego. So now, the moment, however, that our little self disappears, little ego disappears, at that moment, our real work begins. Then we may live in an obscure life. Then we may live an obscure life and go nowhere, but we shall accomplish wonders. When we drop the ego from our consciousness and when we live in God, we have unlimited power. When we drop the ego from our consciousness and live in God, we have unlimited power. So the moment we become instrument, remove our ego, become unselfish, when our ego is removed, then the power of God will start acting through us. The Lord will make such a pure person, such an unselfish person, as an instrument to do His work. So, when we drop the ego from our consciousness and live in God, we have unlimited power. God is the only existence that is real. God is the only existence that is real. All other existences are unrealities behind which God exists as the reality. This Maya is so irresistible, and it is the Maya which makes us selfish. As I told, explained in the Mandukya Upanishad, Maya has two powers. The first power is Avarana Shakti. The second power is Vikshepa Shakti. What is Avarana? The first thing Maya does is it covers that which is real, our true self. It covers the true self. Then we are ignorant of our reality. Then we do not know who we are, what is our real nature. That is the Parabrahma Swarupa, Paramatma Swarupa, that is pure consciousness. So the first thing the Maya does is it covers it. With what? With avidya, ignorance, ignorance of your true nature. And what next? Because of your ignorance of your true nature, it is covered, the reality is covered. What happens? The next power of Maya is Vikshepa Shakti. After Avarana, it is Vikshepa. What does Vikshepa power do? It will make us see the unreality as the real. And that's why we feel the waking state is so real, feeling everything as if this whole world is real. It's not so. But the Maya, because of the self ignorance covering, it makes the whole world look real in the waking state. In the dream state, you will feel the dream state is real. In the deep sleep state, the deep sleep, enjoying that ignorance is real. Again, you are enjoying the ignorance, you are covered by ignorance. So, everywhere in the past, present, and future, the whole universe in all its aspects looks real, though it is unreal. So, your ego is meant to switch from the waking state to the dream state to the prajna to the deep sleep state, again back, and there may be intermediary states. So many thoughts will be coming. You are made to get associated with the mind, and through the mind, you will be associated with the world, and you will never be allowed to go back to your true nature. Your whole mind and everything will be made to go outwards. So, self misconception. You think you are weak, you are small, you are puny, You have to be selfish. So that idea is ego. Because of self ignorance, you will think of yourself as something else, limited with misery and all the other things. Mr. So and so, I am the son of so and so, I am the owner of so and so, such and such company, I am the wife, I am the husband, I am the father, I am the child, I am the owner, I am the subordinate. So, all that feeling, that is the ego. You will start wrongly thinking that you are all these things, identifying with all these things. So, when we drop the ego from our consciousness, dissociate, dissociate from this unreal world. So, where should I keep my association? You have to associate with the true nature, the Paramatman, at least intellectually. Maya will not allow us. Constantly you are harping, constantly you are thinking, constantly you are exerting your true nature. Then you get that purity, and then you come to know your reality. Start with the intellectual process, and it will become real after some time. So, constant self awareness, Atma Pratyaya. And if you are devotional by nature, by repeating the name of the Lord, Japa, the name of the Lord repetition is against constant self awareness in a different way. So, when you drop the ego from our consciousness and live in God, we have unlimited power. God is the only existence that is real. All other existences are unrealities, behind which God exists as the reality. This Maya is so irresistible, and it is this Maya which makes us selfish. Only when God is gracious to us can we lift the veil and get a glimpse of Him. Then all selfishness drops off. The word selfishness is not always understood. When by self I understand the body or the little self, a bundle of character, and I do something for the self, I am selfish. The word selfishness is not always understood. When by self I understand the body or the little self, and I do something for that self, I am selfish. But there is a self which is beyond this physical body. When I do something for that self, that is worshipping God. The man who lives in that higher self is never selfish. Try to feel God inside yourself, and you will overcome all selfishness. When you live constantly in the presence of divinity, when you live constantly in the presence of divinity, the ego loses its power. What is living constantly in the presence of divinity? Exerting your true nature, the Lord who is within, self awareness, mindfulness of the presence of God within you. So, when you live constantly in the presence of divinity, our ego loses its power. But so long as the ego rules a man or a woman, that person, the man or a woman, is a bond slave. So long as the ego rules a man or a woman, that man or a woman is a bond slave. We are all slaves until the ego rules us. All your anxieties and worries, note it, all your anxieties and worries comes from egotism and selfishness. Let go of your little self, and all your worries and miseries will disappear. So, what a wonderful analysis of ego, selfishness, and unselfishness. A new light has come into ourself. Sister Devamata, Laura Glenn, an American lady, who had taken up the Sanatana Dharma, and she has become a nun and changed her name as Sister Devamata. She writes about Sri Ramakrishna Ananda, Swami Ramakrishna Ananda's concept of religion. So now Sister Devamata is writing about the concept of religion according to Swami Ramakrishna Ananda. If Swami Ramakrishna Ananda was a conservative in his mode of worship, he was essentially a liberal in his religious conviction. Tolerance, universality of outlook, freedom from all prejudice, these formed the keystones of his thought structure. Religion he defined as the struggle of spirit against the matter. What a wonderful definition. Is it not to be noted? It's really so good. Now, Sister Devamata is writing, according to Ramakrishnananda, religion he, Swami Ramakrishnananda, defined as the struggle of spirit against matter. The struggle of spirit against matter is religion. And he gave welcome to whatever helped in that struggle. So he gave welcome to whatever helped in that struggle of the spirit against the matter, which is religion. When someone came with words of condemnation on his lips, when someone came with words of condemnation on his lips, I heard him say, never find fault with any form of religion. Never find fault with any form of religion. Differences are all in the external custom. That which makes up the external is the shell. It may be hard and rough and perhaps not to our liking, but it holds a valuable kernel. The kernel of every religion is God. What is kernel? The inner stuff. The kernel of every religion is God. To whatever religion a man belongs, he has to worship the same God. The essential parts of religion are everywhere the same. The essential parts of religion are everywhere the same. It is only in the non-essential part that differences are found. Various religious beliefs and doctrines are merely partial reflections of truth. But because they have that little reflected light of truth in them, we take them to be the whole truth. Religion may be defined as giving God his due. God alone is the proprietor of this universe. God alone is the proprietor of myself. God alone is the proprietor of this universe. Yesterday, I was preparing from the Bhagavata the life story of Krishna, because Krishna Janmashtami is fast approaching. So in that, I was going through the childish pranks of Lord Krishna, Balarama and his friends, going around Vrindavan, Vraja, getting butter, curds, milk and sweets. So stealing butter was his favorite pastime. The child Krishna, the toddler, now his feet are becoming firmer, and is going round the village, such a small child of 6, 5 or 6, stealing butter, going to all the places and playing pranks. At that time, one of the gopi, one of the neighbors of Yashodama, has come with the complaint. Wherever you hide butter, Krishna will find it. One day, this child Krishna had placed the butter hanging on the roof with the rope or something like that. What did Krishna do? He's so small, he's just 6 years old. He took the instrument which I use for other work, placed a motor on that, the tripod and the mortar on that, and upon that he made his stand his friend, and then on his back he stood and made a hole in the pot and started himself taking the butter and giving his to his friend. When I came there, he was caught. I told, "You thief, Krishna, you're stealing butter from my house." Then this young child Krishna is making faces at me and telling, "I am the master of this house. You are the thief. You have stolen my butter. I am the master of this house." So the Lord is the master of this whole universe, and we think that we are the master of this small puny boundary, dividing that property, putting the fences and building walls, and we have made this. The whole universe belongs to the Lord. Krishna is telling the truth. I am not stealing. I am the owner of this house. You are the thief. This butter belongs to me. The small child Krishna is uttering. So, God alone is the proprietor, the owner of this universe. God alone is the proprietor of even myself. Recognizing this and then giving up all to Him, that is religion. Wishing to keep all for yourself, wishing to keep all for yourself is irreligion. Throw away the idea of me and mine. Throw away the idea of me and mine, giving up all to God. This is the essential of every religion. What a wonderful description of religion. Only a spiritual person can create a spiritual atmosphere where one can feel peace, joy, and harmony. On the other hand, wherever worldly people go, wherever worldly people go, they carry with them a worldly atmosphere. That is the influence of satsanga and dussanga. In one of the Indian vernacular, there was a great saint, Sarvagna. In his Sarvagna's Vachana, he writes, Sajjanara Sahavasa Hejjenu Savidant. So, the company of the good people, the saints, is like tasting honey. Then, what is the company of the worldly and the bad people? It is just like the dustbin, the stenching dustbin. So, we can add now, the saint is told, the company, wherever they go, the good people, they carry that atmosphere, good atmosphere, godly atmosphere, wherever they go, spiritual atmosphere. So, if you come to that atmosphere, to that influence, it is just like tasting honey. Sajjanara sahavasa hejjenu savidanta, the beautiful honey. So, we can add one more line. The company of the bad is like the sting of the honey. The big honey, not the small one, the big one. If it stings, it will be very painful. And if more than 21, that honeybees, the bigger ones, the wild honeybees sting, you're sure to die. We will die. So such will be the pain of the sting. So the company of the bad is like that sting of the honeybee. We can add one more. If the company of the good people is like enjoying the tasty, beautiful honey. So only a spiritual person can create a spiritual atmosphere where one can feel peace, joy, and harmony. On the other hand, wherever worldly people go, they carry with them a worldly atmosphere. They talk about politics, they talk about food and food alone, eating, gluttony. They talk about enjoyment, they gossip with delight. So these are the work of the worldly people. They create that worldly atmosphere, materialistic atmosphere. Swami Ramakrishna could not bear such people. If any visitor read a secular book or newspaper in the ashrama, he would scold him saying, "You can do that anywhere. Here in the ashrama, you should try to think of God, not all these worldly things." Swami Ramakrishnananda's whole mind was always saturated with thoughts of God. One day he said to Sister Devamata, "A man or woman who has realized God must keep on realizing Him all his life." A person or a man who has realized God must keep on realizing Him all his life. To realize God is the aim of every human being, whether he knows it or not. That is the highest goal of all the human beings. You know that Sri Ramakrishna is told, the highest goal of humanity or human beings is God realization. Charama, Parama, the last Parama, the highest goal of human life is God realization. To realize God is the aim of every human being, whether he knows it or not. No man who has not true love towards God can be religious. Let us see the veracity, the truth of the words of Ramakrishna Anandaji. To realize God is the aim of every human being, whether he knows or not. Then what is the dog or the cat or the animals or the worldly people doing? They are not bothered about God realization. They don't even think of God. They are moving about here and there. How can you call that, whether they know or not, the highest goal and all are going behind God? Can you prove it? Yes. Okay. Why does the dog get up and run? It wants to get something. Why? It wants joy. Why does a cat go and kill another bird? It wants to eat it. Why? After satiating its hunger, eating the flesh, it gets joy. Why does a thief steal? Getting that item which he has stolen, he thinks he gets joy, he will be happy. So why does a man swindles or cheats other? So after that he thinks he gets joy. So everybody, irrespective of who they are, animals or microbes or birds or human beings, everyone wants bliss or joy, happiness. So God is infinite happiness or infinite joy, absolute. Sat Chit Ananda. So is not everyone moving towards God, whether they know or not? Isn't it true that all are behind a criminal doing his criminal activity because he wants joy? He doesn't know. Without knowing, he is going towards God. That is, maybe he has taken the wrong path. but he wants joy. And what is God? Infinite joy, infinite bliss, absolute ananda. So to realize God is the aim of every human being, whether he knows it or not. No man who has not true love towards God can be religious. Religion begins with attraction to God, and no soul will ever find real satisfaction until he has reached God. All bondages, all bondages comes to an end when man realizes him, that is God. The realization of God cannot be attained in a haphazard way. There is a regular method. First, you must hear about God through the scriptures, through the people who are good, the saints who have realized God, the Guru. Shravana, it is called Shravana in Vedanta. First, you must hear. Then you must understand what you hear. And that is termed in Vedanta as manana. Shravana is hearing, and manana is cogitating, understanding what you have heard. First, you must hear. Then you must understand what you hear. And from understanding, you go on to realize it or realization, that is nididhyasana. Shravana, manana, nididhyasana. You must know the light is there. Otherwise, you may go in the opposite direction to find it. Just like once Shankaracharya, he was living with the disciples, many disciples, and he had his kutir, the hut. One day he was frantically searching for something. One of the disciples came and told, "What are you searching, O sir, Venerable Guruji, outside the hut? What do you want? What have you lost? I will also try to help you, sir." Then Adi Shankaracharya told that, "I have lost my needle here. I have lost my needle and so I am searching." Is it? We will also help you. They went on searching outside in the grass, in the haystack, here and there, the needle. After much searching, all the other disciples also started. So many people were searching. After a long time, when it was fruitless, they couldn't find it. Then the chief disciple came to the Guru Adi Shankara and asked, "Sir, we searched a lot, we couldn't find it. Where did you lose it?" "Oh, I lost the needle inside the hut." My God, we searched and searched everywhere outside the hut. If you lost it inside the hut, why are you searching outside, sir? Because there was no light inside, there was light outside. So, is that the thing? If you lose the needle inside and if you are searching outside, is that not amounting to foolishness? You are such a venerable Guru. Then Adi Shankaracharya told, "Is that not what all of you are doing? All of the humanity, you are doing that. What are we doing, sir? We have lost the joy, ananda. We have lost the light within and we are searching it outside for the joy. Is that not the whole humanity doing that? Everybody doing that? We have lost joy, we have lost God within, and we are searching for that joy outside. Isn't it foolish on everybody to do that? All the humanity is doing that." So that's why here Ramakrishna Anandaji Maharaj is telling the realization of God cannot be attained in a haphazard way. There is a regular method. First, you must hear, then you must understand what you have heard, and from understanding, you go on to realization. You must know the light is there. You must know the light is there within you. Otherwise, you may go in the opposite direction to find that light. Next, you must hear from a teacher how to do it. Then you must understand clearly just what it is. And when you have understood, realization will come. To realize God, one needs a pure mind. And the mind becomes pure through unselfish action. How does the mind become pure? By unselfish action. Karma yoga or unselfish action, selflessness, that makes your mind pure. So, this unselfish action is sometimes confusing to people. To explain this unselfish action, which is confusing to people, one day Swami Ramakrishna told Sister Devamata, work for others. Work for others is self amelioration. Work for others is self amelioration. We need to serve others in order to lift ourselves up out of the state of degradation and selfishness into which we have fallen. Work for others is self amelioration. We need to serve others in order to lift ourselves up out of the state of degradation and selfishness into which we have fallen. We should be grateful to the needy for making it possible for us to raise ourselves. We should be grateful to the needy whom we are trying to help. If they are not allowed us to show our benevolence, then how could you do karma yoga? So that's why those people who are getting the help are not the one who have to be grateful to you, but we are to be grateful to the poor people or anybody whom we are helping. Why? They have allowed you to practice your benevolence or do your service. Otherwise, how could you practice karma yoga? So we should be grateful to the needy for making it possible for us to raise ourselves. So the whole thing becomes reversed. We all thought this day that those people who have taken help from us should thank us. But on the contrary, we have to thank them, we have to be grateful to them because they have given us an opportunity to show, express, manifest our benevolence or practice our karma yoga. We should be grateful to the needy for making it possible for us to raise ourselves. That is the only real good that comes out of all that we do for others. We merely better ourselves. As Swami Vivekananda tells, by doing good to others, we are doing good to ourselves. In reality, we are doing good to myself. I am doing good to myself by doing good to others. According to Vedanta philosophy, says Swami Ramakrishna, the microcosm and macrocosm are not different. According to Vedanta philosophy, the microcosm, that is the individual soul, and the macrocosm, the Paramatman, Parabrahman, or the manifestation of this God as this world, are not different. They originate from the same substance. Swami Ramakrishna embodied this philosophy. In addition to religion and philosophy, Swami Ramakrishna had a wide range of knowledge in physical science and mathematics. Sister Deva Mata is telling once Swami Ramakrishna said, actually, time, space, and causation are not separate entities outside. They all exist in me, that is, in my mind. So, the whole world, the whole universe does not exist outside, but on the contrary, the whole universe is inside the mind of man. So, all that you see, this world, is because of the mind. You are attaching Your pure consciousness, Atman, with the mind, associating with the mind, that creates all this Maya. So now he's telling Ramakrishna Nandaji, once he said, actually, time, space, and causation are not separate entities outside. They all exist in me, that is, in my mind. So we shall understand this. First of all, we should know what is time, space, and causation. Now, another place in the Gnana Yoga, Swami Vivekananda tells, when we see, covering our eyes with time, the lens of time, space, and causation, then we see God as the world. So, what is the Avarana Shakti of the Maya? Time, space, and causation. That is Maya. So, first of all, you should know what is time. Kala, time, it is devouring you. See, time, death is also given the name time. We are, every second, we are moving towards death because of the time. Time is eating up. So, what is this time? There is no time at all. There is no concept of time. But we think time is there. That is what Maya is doing us. It looks as if time is there devouring us, and death. We are afraid of death. What is death? Time. We are moving towards death over time. We are losing our life, our age. So, what is time? There is no time at all. How come? Can you prove it? First of all, you should know what is time. What is time? Time is the gap between two events. If there are no two events, there can be no time. Okay, let us understand it still better. See, the moon moves around the earth, and there will be phases. Purnima to Amavasya, from full moon to new moon, and new moon to full moon. You go on seeing that different phases of moon. Accordingly, you calculate the tithi, pratipat or pratama, dvitiya, tritiya, chaturthi, 15 days. Paksha, it is called 15 days. Krishna Paksha, that is dark fortnight, when the moon is moving from Purnima, full moon, from light to darkness, that is new moon, no moon. So that's why it's called dark fortnight. You are moving that 15 days, Paksha. Then from no moon, darkness, when the time is moving towards full moon, that is, you are moving towards light, so it is called Shukla Paksha, white. So it is two event has to take place, movement of the moon. That is the Tithi day. Then in the Tithi or in this day, 24 hours. So you see, you take the hourglass in olden days, now there are the clocks. So in that, in the clock, wall clock or your hand clock, wristwatch, you can see there is the needle of the hour, needle of the minute, and needle of the second. So movement of that needle, event is taking place. From one number to another number, the needle is moving, event is happening. So that gap is called second. Then the gap is called the minute. Then the hour. So some event has to take place. Otherwise, there is no time. Still go interior, still go deeper inside. Now the electronic time, the digital time has come up. So in future, we do not know what more comes up. So this is at the level. So two events has to take place for you to understand, or for time to exist. There is no event. So then we think the movement of the sun rising and going down, but it is not so. It is apparent. It looks like that. In reality, the earth is moving around. So that moving around of the earth creates day and night, and afterwards we have the year. In that year, we have the weather patterns changing. and the weather pattern on the northern hemisphere is different and the southern hemisphere is different. So we have the autumn, the spring, the cold, the winter, the summer, the rainy, so many seasons according to the movement of the earth around the sun. So now you have years, you have the pattern, all these things. Now you are put into external space out of the earth, then your time varies. There is the time concept changes. Okay, if you are put outside the solar system, again the time concept changes. You have to base your time on the bigger events taking place, that is the movement of the stars still outside. Then you have to see the movement of the galaxies. God alone knows how many years it will be there. That's why the calculation there will be entirely different, the unit of time there. So if you are put into space, external space where there is nothing, you are outside this whole universe, then you don't have events at all, there is no time sense at all. Then what about in Parabrahma Swarupa, your reality, your true nature, Atman? It is Akhanda. Akhanda means no break. When there is infinity, when it is infinite, no events can take place, it is everywhere. So no two event takes place in Parabrahman, no phenomena. So no time. If there is no phenomena taking place there, there is only one undivided Parabrahman, pure consciousness. So no concept of time in God, in Parabrahman. So you think time exists. Time doesn't exist at all. It's in your mind. Then what about space? Gap, space. So there should be two. There is no space at all in reality. What is space? It is the space between two objects. There should be compulsorily two objects for space to exist. Suppose there are no objects, then there is no space. When you come to God or Parabrahman, this undivided pure consciousness, there is no two objects. There is only one Advaita. So then where is space? There is no space at all. Then causation. Who is the cause of you and me? My father and mother. Who are the cause of them? Your parents, their father and mother, great grandparents. Their cause, their great grandparents. So it goes on, cause. Then this way, you will be the cause of your children, and they will be the cause, they will be cause affecting. So it's a cause and effect relationship. That's called causation. Everything in this world you will be asking why. You are asking for the why, how, where, what, and what is that? That is causation. You all want, how did this happen? Why is this color like this? Why does the animal has this quality? Why that object has that quality? Why, how, where? It's causation. Everything is causation. A product has come out. What did it come out from? How did it come out? They were the raw material. The scientist thought like this. Because of his thought, because of that was the cause, and this is the effect. So the whole thing goes on. So in Parabrahman, in God, in your true nature, the pure consciousness, it is Anadi and Ananta, beginningless. It's from there, from the beginning, because no time at all. And it will exist always. So there is no causation. Who caused? Who is the father of Shiva? Who is the father of God? Nobody. Because nobody can cause God. God is the Anadi, the beginning, the source of everything, the eternal witness. So no cause and effect relationship in God, in Parabrahman, that is your true nature. So what is the original cause? Maya, ignorance, self-ignorance. You forgot your true nature. That is ignorance. Ignorance is the cause of all this universe. So mind causes the ignorance. It brings in the time, space, and causation, which is Maya, and it makes you look this God Himself as the world. So Vivekananda tells, remove that time, space, and causation from your eyes, the lens called time, space, and causation, that is Maya. Then this very same world will become God. You are in God, you are breathing God, you are living God, you are eating God. God everywhere. Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmana Hutam, everything is God. So that concept of time, space, and causation, in Sanskrit it is called Kala, Desha, and Nimitta. Kala, Desha, and Nimitta, time, space, and causation. So everything, this whole Maya, this whole world is this time, space, and causation. So actually, time, space, and causation are not separate entities outside. The world doesn't exist outside. They all exist in me. Why? You are that Parabrahma Swarupa. How is it? Even from the ordinary standpoint of view, they all exist. The whole world exists in me. What is this whole universe? Time, space, and causation. And suppose the mind is not there. Everything is in your mind. In itself, the universe is not there. Your mind creates this projection. So the whole world exists in me, that is in my mind. When you don't associate the pure consciousness with the mind, then the world doesn't exist. The whole universe is inside man. Science is the struggle of man in the outer world. What is physics or science? Ramakrishna Anandaji is telling science is the struggle of man in the outer world. Religion is the struggle of man in the inner world. Science makes man struggle for truth in the outside universe, and religion makes him struggle for truth in the inner universe. Both struggles are great, no doubt, but one ends in success and the other ends in failure. Which search of truth, the struggle for truth succeeds, and which doesn't succeed? The struggle for truth inside ourselves succeeds, but the struggle outside the world, which the scientists are now doing, because it is infinite, so it will take infinite time. Go on searching, it will deceive you in the outer world. That's why you see so many branches of sciences are developing. 100 years back, the branches of science were only three: physics, chemistry, and biology. Now, in each physics, there are so many branches. In chemistry, there are so many branches. In biology, there are so many branches: zoology, botany, and in zoology, now so many microbiology, biotechnology, so many things have come. And there are medical science. In medical science, there are so many: pathology, anatomy, pediatrics, orthopedics, geriatrics, and it is going on dividing and redividing. Now, if you go to the ENT specialist, ENT, ear, N, nose, and T, tongue. So that specialist, if you go to problem with your nose, you'll tell, I am the super specialist of the right nostril. You have to go to the super specialist of the left nostril. And further, a day will come when you go to the specialist for nose problem, he'll tell, my only specialization is the cartilage inside the nose. You have to go to the epithelial cells, the mucous membrane cell specialist. Super specialization. And it is going on and on and on and on. Now in the dentistry, I have seen The children, when their milk tooth are coming up, so they are called pedodontics. So the pedodontics looks only after the tooth of the children. There are so many orthodontics and so many other branches in dentistry, physiomuscular surgeon. Now, a future, another thing may come up, or it might have come up. What is that? Gerodontics. People in the old age, they lose the tooth. Everything is lost and they will put the dentures. So it is just like seedless peanut. What is gerodontics? The science or the medical science when there are no tooth in the mouth. Then what is the need of gerodontics? Whatever that might be. So it's going on dividing and redividing, and it goes on eternally, because this is Maya. There's no end. It will deceive you. You'll be going round and round, round, just like that rat mounted on that mission. There's no end. But your struggle for truth inside within will succeed. The struggle for truth outside the world, outside, will not succeed, will be a failure. Both struggles are good. Both struggles are great, no doubt, but one ends in success and the other ends in failure. That is the difference. Religion begins where science ends. Religion begins where science ends. Physics will lead to metaphysics. Swami Vivekananda tells in his complete works about this. He tells our rishis and munis, they all were great scientists earlier, our forefathers in India. They had progressed a lot in science, but they found they cannot find the truth in that struggle outside. It's only partial truth they are getting. Then they gave up that and turned inwards. And that is this wonderful science of Vedanta and everything which we have got. They were great scientists. They gave up for the inner truth to realize the highest. So that's what Swami Vivekananda tells in his complete works. So both struggles are great, no doubt, but one ends in success and the other ends in failure. That is the difference. Religion begins where science ends. The whole scientific method is based on observation and experiment. But moment man realizes that there is something beyond observation and experiment, he will give them up and leave material science behind. Science will always have to deal with finite bodies, and God is infinite. A real lover always thinks of the beloved. Swami Ramakrishna is telling, a real lover always thinks of the beloved and would never do anything to displease the beloved. The stories of Swami Ramakrishna's love for Sri Ramakrishna are now legends in the order, that is the order of Sri Ramakrishna Sangha. Once, Swami Ramakrishna told Sister Devamata, the true devotee never thinks of himself. A true devotee never thinks of himself. He is so full of thought of God that his own self is forgotten. That is the basics of religion. You should know that. To forget yourself. In Bhakti Yoga, by thinking of God, you forget yourself. In Gnana Yoga, neti neti, na iti na iti. Not this, not this. So you forget yourself, negating everything about this world and your ego and your thoughts. And finally, when you negate everything, what remains is God. That is Gnana Yoga. In Bhakti Yoga, the true devotee never thinks of himself, but thinks of God. So his self is negated. And in Raja Yoga, you try to separate the Purusha from the Prakriti, and you think of the Purusha, meditate on the Purusha. It is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. The first very verse of Patanjali Raja Yoga is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Stopping your mind from taking vrittis. Again, you are negating your lower nature and you will get the higher nature. It's not nature, it is not matter, it is not thought, it is not mind. Destruction of the mind is the goal of Raja Yoga. Then that is also making you forget yourself. And what about Karma Yoga? The Karma Yoga itself shows you are working for others, for the humanity, for everybody else, not for yourself. So Karma Yoga in itself tells it is to make you forget yourself. That's why Swami Vivekananda told all the paths, all the yogas, all the religion is meeting at one place, or the if you filter them, if you crush them and take the essence, what is the essence? What is the summum bonum of all the paths and religion? Perfect self-abnegation. Completely forgetting yourself, removal of your ego, lower ego. So now Ramakrishna ji telling the true devotee never thinks of himself. He's so full of thought of God that his own self is forgotten. This body is only an instrument, a passive instrument. And an instrument really has no existence of its own. This body, this mind, this personality is only an instrument, a passive instrument. So now you have so many instruments with you, the pen, the computer, the phone, they're all instruments. Who are they serving? They're serving you, the master. So instrument in itself doesn't have any existence. It is the owner of the instrument who is the one who has his real existence. So likewise, we are all instruments. This body, this mind, this ego, this personality is only an instrument, a passive instrument. And an instrument really has no existence of its own, for it is wholly dependent upon the one who uses it. Suppose a pen were conscious, it could say, I have written hundreds of letters, but actually it has done nothing. For the one who holds it has written the letters. So, can you claim that you have done all these things? Can you claim that you are the one who are looking after the family? You have achieved all these things? No. You are only an instrument. So how can you claim? That is egoism. So everything is achieved by the power within. That is the Lord. You are only an instrument. So if the instrument, the pen or the pencil claims that I've written hundreds of letters, but actually it has done nothing. But the one who holds it has written the letters. So because we are conscious, we think we are doing all these things. Whereas in reality, we are as much an instrument in the hands of the higher power as the pen in our hands. And he makes all things possible. There's nothing which we are doing. It is because of God we are performing everything. And we think that we are doing everything. That is ego, that is Maya. In reality, everything happens because of the presence of God. God doesn't take part in any of the phenomena. His presence is enough. Just his presence. He makes all things possible. So life means struggle. Life means struggle. Only two types of people do not struggle. So life is a constant struggle against the nature, external and internal. So life means struggle, says Ramakrishna ji. Only two types of people do not struggle. Who are they? The dead and the illumined, who have transcended the pair of opposites. Only two do not struggle. The dead do not struggle, and the illumined who have transcended the pair of opposites. Now, Devamata is telling about Swami Ramakrishna Nandaji. One day, someone complained to Swami Ramakrishna Nandaji about dryness in spiritual life. So we all undergo this, isn't it? So let us carefully watch what Ramakrishna Nandaji will give an answer to this question. Sister Devamata is telling one day, someone complained about dryness in spiritual life. Now Ramakrishna Nandaji answered, that very complaining about the dryness in spiritual life, Ramakrishna Nandaji answered, shows that their devotion is strong. Even though they may not seem to express it so well as at other times, the very fact that they are restless proves that this dryness of heart is an unnatural condition for them, just as the fish feels dryness and jumps about when it is out of water, water being its natural element. So their devotion is not lessened in any way, so long as the hunger for devotion to God is there. Their devotion is not lessened in any way, so long as the hunger for devotion to God is there. A man is steady in devotion. So that itself shows that there is dryness in your spiritual life. The very complaining Ramakrishna Nandaji is answering shows that their devotion is strong. You are out of devotion, your lessened devotion or your anxiety to get God and devotion to Him is itself showing that you are out of that, like the fish. The fish natural condition is water. Likewise, God is your true condition. So if you are coming out of it, you feel that dryness. So what is the remedy? Go back to God. Go back to devotion. So their devotion is not lessened in any way, so long as the hunger for devotion to God is there. A man is really steady in devotion. Now, going forward, in spiritual life, where self-effort ends, in spiritual life, where self-effort ends, what begins? Ramakrishna Nandaji is telling, in spiritual life, where self-effort ends, where self-effort ends, self-surrender begins. A real monastic always surrenders himself to God and depends on his own self. In spiritual life, Ramakrishna Nandaji is telling, where all self-effort ends, self-surrender begins. Now, let us take this up and analyze it a little. Wherever the self-effort ends, then self-surrender begins. We can get a clue from the example given by Sri Ramakrishna himself. So he tells, what is sadhana? What is spiritual practice? Spiritual practice is nothing but tiring your wings, tiring of your wings. What is that? What do you come to know? After doing spiritual sadhana, you will come to know that you cannot realize God by your self-effort. So when you come to know that you cannot realize God through your self-effort, then self-surrender begins. How can you prove it? Ramakrishna gives the example of the big ship which was standing there. In olden days, the ships had sail. The mast would be there and the big sails would be there. So taking the help of the wind, those big ships used to move. There was no steam engine or there was no diesel or anything engines at that time. It was all mast with the help of the wind. They used to move the ships. So such an old ship was standing there, docked to the harbor. So a bird went and sat on one of the masts of that ship. It slept, it closed its eyes, it was tired, it slept. And the ship, the captain moved the ship now into the seas. The bird was sleeping, it was not aware the ship is moving, the wind is carrying it, and it went to the dark sea or the Black Sea. What is that Black Sea? Where you can see only water of the sea, nothing else. Everywhere it is sea and sea alone, all 360-degree. You see only sea. Nothing others, no land can be visible. So now the bird suddenly woke up. It saw, what is this? Where am I? The ship is moved. I've come to the deep depth of the sea. I can't see land. So now I have to go back to my home. So let me try. It flew to the south. It flew and flew and flew. It couldn't get the land. Again, it thought, if I now go on flying, I may lose even that ship. Then no space to land. I may have to drown in the water. So it came back to the ship, sat on that mast again. Then again it tried towards north. It went, flew and flew and flew, and it couldn't get anything there. So again it came back to the ship, to the south, to the west. So sorry, to the south, to the north, to the west and the east, northeast, all the other direction. It flew, and finally it decided, I cannot find the land, and it just sat and surrendered on that ship. Finally, one day, the ship itself came back to the land, and the bird flew back to its home. So, the tiring of the wings, the bird started flying in all the direction, tried and tried and tried. And afterwards, it came to know it is futile to fly. Then it simply sat, surrendered to the ship, and sat on the mast of the ship. And the ship itself took it to the goal. Likewise, all this sadhana, our self-effort, is to show us that you cannot get God, you cannot realize God by your self-effort. Then surrender to the Lord, surrender to the master of the ship, or surrender to the Lord, and the Lord himself, out of his infinite grace, will take you back to him. So it is the grace of the Lord was always working. So when you surrender, you have to put in the self-effort first. Without putting in the self-effort, without tiring, you cannot really self-surrender. Many people tell, oh, we have surrendered to God. No, nothing. You have your ego and you will be doing everything. To finish off all the sadhanas, then you will really come to know that you cannot get God by your self-effort. It's only through the grace of God. So as one of the Swamijis, that is Swami Yatishwarananda Ji Maharaj, in the night class used to allow all the brahmacharis and other monks to argue, giving up a debate. And that day the debate there in the night class of Swami Yatishwarananda Ji Maharaj in Bangalore was about self-effort and God's grace. So Revered Harshananda Ji Maharaj, who was under Yatishwaranji's training there in Bangalore, he told us, they were all brahmacharis at that time, young brahmacharis who had joined. There were so many others. Shastrananda Ji, Prabhuddhananda Ji Maharaj, even Revered Gautamananda Ji Maharaj, the present vice president, is the disciple of Swami Yatishwarananda Ji Maharaj, who was the direct disciple of Swami Brahmananda Ji. So now the argument went, some people told you had to put in the self-effort, and some people told no, self-surrender, God's grace is important. They argued and argued and argued. Finally, the people who told self-effort, who were arguing by self-effort of God, they became stronger and about to win. So everything is over, your debate is over. Yatishwarananda asked them. Finally he concluded, he's told, even for you to put in the self-effort, you need God's grace. That was the conclusion. Even for you to put in the self-effort, exert the self-effort, you need God's grace was the final conclusion. So what beautiful things in spiritual life we are learning through the teachings of Ramakrishna Nandaji Maharaj. So wherever self-effort ends, self-surrender begins. That is true self-surrender. I may claim I have surrendered everything to God. No, still my ego is working. Complete self-surrender comes when self-effort stops. But for that, you have to put in self-effort. Without putting intense self-effort, you cannot reach that state. Then I may claim, oh, why to put in all the self-effort and sleep and nicely eat, sleep? No, laziness will not do. Put in intense self-effort, then only you can get real, true self-surrender. So we will stop our conversation here because we are nearing our time, 8 o'clock. So if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, you can ask. Any questions, any doubts? So on the YouTube live chat, there are no questions. Are there any questions or doubts here in the Google Live?
Om Namo Narayana Maharaj, Jai Sri Ramakrishna.
Om Namo Narayanaya Naresh.
Oh Maharaj, you mentioned about God's grace and you mentioned about self-effort. Maharaj, in the context of yoga, does it mean that knowledge is just a means to attain the bhakti, the devotion to the Lord, Maharaj?
See, suppose now Naresh Ramavatar is there. The more I come to know about his good qualities, my respect and devotion to that person will increase as I get more knowledge about his good qualities. So, how to increase the devotion and respect to that person? By knowing the good qualities about that person. So, the more knowledge you come to know about God, then your devotion towards God will increase. Your respect and devotion towards God will increase. When your respect and devotion increase, what will you do? You will serve God. You will serve that person. Suppose my respect to my guru, my respect to somebody else increases. What do I do? How do I express my devotion? And by service. So knowledge of God increases devotion, and then finally it results in service. Is it clear, Naresh Ramavatar?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Next topic.
Any other questions? Any other doubts? Okay. If you don't have any questions or doubts, we can conclude with the prayer. Om Priyatam Pundarikakshaः सर्वयज्ञेश्वरो हरिः तस्मिन् तुष्टे जगत्तुष्टं प्रीणिते प्रीणितं जगत् हरिः ओम तत्सत् श्रीरामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु. Thank you. Namaste. Om Namo Narayana. We will meet again discussing the same thing, same subject on next Thursday. Om Namo Narayana.